Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. I am Barry, and I have found something in the Naruto community that has really interested me since I started the series. Obviously, there is a rather large chunk of people out there that simply despise Boruto, so I figured why not just do a video on what would happen if everyone's wish came true and Boruto was just never born. A world where, Roe v. Wade is not overturned and Boruto is just not there. It's needless to say that the story would change a pretty good bit if Boruto, the main character, is just out of the picture. But to start off, I just want to say I obviously can't account for little occurrences and butterfly effects because there could just be all sorts of unpredictable problems when you take out a whole character, especially a character like Boruto, that has some sort of impact on pretty much everyone else in the series. So the entirety of this video is going to be rational assumptions and educated guesses on certain occurrences, and a lot of it is up to your little imagination. Also, this is strictly manga canon, so no filler arcs that mean absolutely nothing, as I don't want this video to be 5 hours long. But without wasting much time, let's get into the first thing that really changes in the series, and that is Mitsuki likely not being the same character that we see in the series right now. The manga states that Mitsuki was meant to illuminate the dark, and this would be done through Boruto being his son, S-U-N, not S-O-N. Log, who is the old Mitsuki, stated that Boruto would stick by Mitsuki's side and shine upon him. So effectively, without Boruto, Mitsuki may either not be in Konoha as a genin, or just not be the loving character that he is right now. This is a part of the whole story that is truly up to headcanon, but either way, it won't really end up having too much bearing on the plot. But for the sake of the video, we're going to assume that Mitsuki is still a genin, but much more calculated and cold-blooded, more or less the Sasuke of the group. So with that in mind, we're going to skip over to the next big occurrence, which is the Chunin exams. The Otsutsukis would still cruise on into the village looking for the Kyuubi, and everything would still be the same, except Naruto would not be in the middle of the arena like he was, because he wouldn't be scolding Boruto for using ninja tools. Naruto and Sasuke would still obviously be there to fight, but the biggest change is the fact that Momoshiki wouldn't have the big chakra power-up that Boruto handed him, and whether or not you believe Naruto and Sasuke could just kill Kinshiki and Momoshiki right there, without Boruto's interference, doesn't really matter all that much because Naruto would still want to give himself up to get the fight away from the village, and a lot of Momoshiki's powers still came from the pills that he took right before fighting Naruto and Sasuke. So the same thing would sort of happen. Sasuke would bring everyone to Momoshiki's dimension, just without Boruto, and they would stomp the Otsutsukis like they already did. The only outlier here in this situation is Katasuke. At the time, he was under a genjutsu and decided to go into Momoshiki's dimension to test his ninja tools, which, as everyone knows, ended up helping Momoshiki, and without Boruto in that situation, it's likely that the Kages would have died. But what would have happened, in my opinion, is Katasuke wouldn't be in the situation to go to Momoshiki's dimension. The manga states that Katasuke was still acting in his own interests, and that the genjutsu actually amplified his self-interest. So in this situation where Boruto is not competing in the Chunin exams and using scientific ninja tools, there would be no reason to prove the strength of those tools, as they wouldn't be a controversial thing without the whole situation with Boruto. Now, if you disagree with that and think Katasuke would still be there, Momoshiki would have everyone in shadow paralysis, and unless Naruto could just get out with brute force or something, that is the end of the Naruto story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. However, if we continue with the story under the assumption that Naruto and Sasuke would stomp Momoshiki like they did in the manga, and Katasuke wouldn't interfere, the biggest change in the story would occur, and that is the fact that Naruto would most likely become Momoshiki's vessel instead of Boruto. Genetically, he's the prime target in this situation. He'd probably be the one to kill Momoshiki, and Code, as well as the rest of Kara, checked Naruto first to see if he had a karma. This is because they figured Momoshiki would implant a karma onto him out of everyone that was there, most likely due to his genetic makeup. So at this point, everyone goes back home and they immediately start researching the karma seal, figuring out what it is and what abilities it gives Naruto. All the while, the Mujina gang and Shoujoji would have easily been dealt with by someone else. The daimyo's son would probably either die or be used as a bribe or something, but it really doesn't matter all that much because that whole plot with Shoujoji was more or less something to show off the karma seal, and really doesn't have much bearing on the future plot. The only thing that does really affect the plot is the composition of Team 7 in this situation, and to keep things simple, I'm going to assume that Team 7 goes on the missions they go on in the show, and Team 7 is made up of the same characters, Konohamaru, Sarada, Mitsuki, and the fourth would be Sumire. It's the easiest one to just throw in there since you wouldn't have to screw up any other teams. So yeah, Sumire will be replacing Boruto in this next situation, which is their encounter with Ao. The whole situation would still be the same, with Team 7 going to test ninja tools with Katasuke, then getting transported into fighting Ao. Mujino would probably still die, none of this was really affected by Boruto, but what would change is the actual fight with Ao, since Sumire is probably not on the level of fighting Ao by herself, like Boruto did after he was drained of chakra. But if I'm being honest, I think Team 7 could still handle Ao without any extra casualties. They would use Sumire and Nue to their advantage, and the fight with Ao didn't seem difficult enough for me to just assume Team 7 would lose in this situation. Like I said, Boruto could have killed Ao by himself after draining his chakra, so if the whole team continued fighting together, or if Mitsuki just went Sage mode, Ao is still getting killed. However, at the point of Kashin Koji, Team 7 is dead. Now, I don't really understand why Koji was so ready to kill Team 7 when they defeated Ao, because it would definitely impact the relationship between Konoha and Amado. So what I'm about to say is completely based on the fact that Koji seemed like he was really about to kill Team 7 in the manga. They would most likely have defeated Ao, but Koji would be there to finish them off, since Boruto wouldn't be the interesting Karma Seal kid that Koji was curious about. And since Sarada is among those people that would either be dead or in serious danger, Sasuke is probably the most likely person to arrive as backup in my opinion. Those are some major characters that would end up getting killed: Konohamaru, Sarada, Mitsuki, so I doubt they would just send some normal Jonin or Chunin to go as backup. Koji would be gone at the point Sasuke arrives, but would still find Kawaki on the way back in my opinion, and Sasuke would bring Kawaki back to Konoha to learn more and help his best friend Naruto figure out more about his Karma Seal, and Sasuke would most likely bring him back much easier than they did in the manga. Delta and Koji would watch as Sasuke just finds Kawaki and teleports both of them to somewhere safe, since I doubt Koji would want to fight Sasuke in the first place. And it also wouldn't further his plan of killing Jigen, since Delta and Koji combined would probably be enough to at least get Sasuke to retreat, leaving Jigen with Kawaki, effectively ruining Koji's plan. So now Kawaki is back in the village, and the same thing happens that happened in the series. Naruto takes care of him, teaches him about what it's like to be a shinobi, being a good person, all that. Koji still enters the village to find him, and Delta still finds Kawaki and tries to bring him back. They would most likely not be in a field like they were in the manga, because the only reason they were there was to see Kawaki versus Boruto. But Naruto would still find Delta, and since he was already close to the village when they fought in the manga, it would most likely happen similar to how it did in the manga. If anything, Naruto would win even easier, since Boruto trying his Vanishing Rasengan is what inspired Delta to grab Himawari and all that. So up until now, the series is in a pretty similar situation, except for the fact that Team 7 is most likely dead, Kawaki doesn't have the brotherly figure that he currently has, and Naruto is Momoshiki's vessel. And throughout making this video, I have realized that there is a lot of leeway with what happens in the series, because Konoha is so packed with godlike shinobi that could just pick up any slack left by Boruto. The main problem that has most likely already started to arise in this situation is the fact that Naruto is still turning into an Otsutsuki. As Amado had explained, once you have a Karma Seal, it's somewhat of a countdown until the Otsutsuki that you host can officially come out. But anyway, Naruto and Sasuke would still fight Jigen, and the same thing happens again. Still, none of this really relies on Boruto at all. And since Naruto has the Karma Seal, which is pretty much a buff on overall strength and speed, Naruto's Karma Seal would most likely come out when Jigen uses his, since they would probably resonate. And even if they didn't resonate, Naruto's anger and desire to save Sasuke would probably cause it to come out anyways. And since Jigen had 0 chakra left at the end of their fight, according to Amado, Jigen would probably be killed, with Naruto having that extra buff and power. And since Ishiki is revived when Jigen is killed, you would most likely have Ishiki versus Baryon Mode Naruto, just in Ishiki's dimension instead of Momoshiki's. In that case, everything is pretty much the same again, and Ishiki ends up getting killed right alongside Kurama. Code would obviously still want revenge, but he would still be alongside Boro, since Team 7 didn't need to rescue Naruto from Ishiki's dimension. But Boro being there doesn't really have much weight on the plot, since Code would still probably want Ada to feed him info, and Boro trying to stop Code from doing so, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Kawaki may or may not still try to sacrifice himself to Code to save Naruto, but Naruto in this situation is not the same Naruto that we see on the sidelines watching Borushiki versus Kawashiki. He would have Sage Mode, most likely 6-path Sage Mode, but we didn't see him try to use it yet, so it's unsure. And he would have all of his powers buffed by the Karma Seal. And of course, the last resort of him being, what would it be, Narushiki? And considering Code thinks it's debatable whether or not he could take on Naruto or Sasuke by himself, throwing a Karma Seal onto Naruto definitely makes you think he'd surely surpass Code's strength, at least before his limiter is taken off. So with that assumption, Kawaki would not leave Konoha to sacrifice himself, because there would be no need to do so. And even if he did, Naruto would just show up and most likely scare Code off. Either way, there wouldn't be the situation where Momoshiki can't revive because he needs to save Naruto's life like he did for Boruto. Momoshiki would still be taking more and more of Naruto's body, and if we assume the same percentage as Boruto, Naruto at this point would be 82% Otsutsuki. He would also negate Ada's powers, which would be perfect for defending Konoha and especially Amado, and Sasuke would still be a god with his Rinnegan to protect everyone if needed. In my opinion, there wouldn't be a situation where Code could reach his full strength before Momoshiki takes over Naruto. The people defending Naruto in this situation, full power Sasuke with the Rinnegan, Naruto with a Karma Seal, I mean, there's just no way he would find Amado to get his limiter taken off. And since that's as far as the series goes at the moment, that's really it for now. The new Team 7 is possibly dead, Sasuke still has the Rinnegan, Kashin Koji is a complete outlier, but most likely being used for Konoha's gain, and that's just another strong character that would completely negate Code trying to get in there to get his limiter off. Koji would probably be similar to the new Delta that Amado built. Naruto is quickly on pace to becoming a full-fledged Otsutsuki, and all he has to stop it are some pills. If you guys want a part 2 for when more of the series comes out, let me know. I may end up changing some things if more info is released. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.